Well, I'm Lena Gallitano, and I have been involved in the North Carolina Birding Trail since 2004. The Birding Trail Guides are wonderful full-color books, and each one of them has about 150 pages in it. For all across North Carolina, we have 310 birding trail sites in the guidebooks, and it's just been a wonderful example of how things can come together. The birding trail guides are divided into 3 regional groups, and the easiest way for us to do that was to use the interstate highway system. And while some regions aren't exactly in the mountains and maybe some are not exactly called Piedmont, it still was the easiest way for us to do that. So everything east of I-95 is in the coastal plain. There are 103 sites in the coastal plain guidebooks. Piedmont section is between I-95 and I-77, and there are 102 sites in the Piedmont. And the mountains are from everything west of I-77, and there are 105 sites in the mountain trail guidebooks. Each time we introduced one of the guidebooks from the coast to the mountains, we had an introductory grand opening and started the sale of the books and the display of the books at that time. So we've had 3 large celebrations across the state and invited everyone involved in those regions to participate. So we've had some wonderful grand openings for all the trails. So it's been an expensive proposition, and we have been very fortunate to have raised grant money for the publication of all of the books, grant money and sponsorships, and so we are very fortunate to have many, many people supporting the trail. And all of those people are recognized in the guidebooks and on our website. Carolina Birding Trail markets itself primarily through the website, ncbirdingtrail.org, and that is also the primary place that you can find information on where to purchase the Birding Trail guides. There are 2 places you can purchase from, Wildlife Resources Commission or UNC Press. So we market through the website. We also market through a Facebook page and are trying to encourage sites to provide information about what's happening with their site and events on that Facebook page. We also, when we're able to do so, we participate in festivals for birding trail sites, and also UNC Press is doing a tremendous amount of marketing for the birding trail. The Birder-Friendly Business and the Birder-Friendly Community Training Program was developed to reach out to the tourism market. It was an idea that Stacy had and submitted a grant to Golden Leaf, and we were fortunate enough to get it. And so it's been a wonderful opportunity to reach out to tourism and to talk about what the niche market of birders might bring to their communities and to their businesses. And we recognize all of the participants for that training program on our website, so it gives them a little bit of added opportunity for some recognition for birders. One of the other things that we focused on in the Birder-Friendly Training Program was to try to show communities that there is a connection between their natural resources and the community and the other things that are available. For example, we talked about how a bed and breakfast could bring in a restaurant that they could partner with and use the birding trail as the mechanism that they could advertise. Here's a birding trail, but you can stay at our bed and breakfast, you can eat at this restaurant, and that it would bring a better marketing tool to the communities so that they could focus on not only their nature-based tourism, but the other assets in their community, their historic sites, their museums, festivals, anything that was going on. But the trail also is a good marketing tool to encompass all of the things the community has to offer. The other thing that we realized when we were doing the guidebooks is that there were a lot of other things in the area that people could do, and we realized that every person who uses the birding trail is not a dedicated birder. So we recognize that many times people who are birding travel with someone who would rather go to an antique store or a historical site or do something other than birding. So as much as we could, we added at the end of each group another little section called While You're in the Area. And so we've done as much as we can to try to focus on other resources, other trails in some cases, and other things that people can do in the area to encourage not just birders, but other people to visit North Carolina. One of the nicest things about the birding trail is that it brings nature-based tourism into one location. It offers opportunities to visit properties that are privately owned, city-owned, county, state, and federal lands into one resource. There's not another book that I know of that brings all those resources into one place. So while it is called a birding trail, it really can be a trail for anyone. It could be a trail for hiking, biking, paddling, just a nature walk or a picnic. But it's the one resource in North Carolina that lists all accessible lands that submitted a site nomination that can be visited by people to enjoy nature-based activities. The trends in nature-based tourism are interesting. Every 5 years, the Fish and Wildlife Service does a survey of fishing, hunting, and nature-based tourism. I think it's called wildlife watching. The numbers for nature-based tourism are going up while the numbers for fishing and hunting actually are declining somewhat. So nature-based tourism, and in particular birding, is one of the activities they seek the numbers for and develop statistics for, is an increasing activity. And over time, it's going to bring a lot of money into the state. North Carolina has over 2 million people who consider themselves bird watchers. Some of those people just watch at home while many others travel, and so regardless of whether you're watching at home and feeding the birds and buying bird feeders, or whether you are out spending money on tourism dollars, there's a lot of money in the birding industry and nature-based tourism industry. Nature-based tourism should be developed, I think, in many communities across North Carolina because we have a tremendous number of natural resources. There's a huge niche market for birders. It's a sustainable activity. It's non-consumptive. It doesn't use any thing from the land. And it also, I think, will drive the development and preservation of natural resources because when people come and spend money to go out and do nature watching or birding in a community, then that community is going to realize that that's a nice resource because it brings economic development money into their community. And so it's really a market that's really not tapped in North Carolina, and one that I think communities could do very well to look into. Early on in the planning for the North Carolina Birding Trail, we developed a mission statement, and the mission statement has 3 parts. It is to promote sustainable birdwatching activities, economic development, and conservation education. And we believe that when people will realize that nature brings in tourism into their communities, that will in turn drive the opportunity and the commitment for them to preserve those open areas and to engage in conservation education within their communities. Because it's only by preserving those regions and those areas for nature is that going to continue to provide a habitat for animals and birds and places for people to enjoy. So nature-based tourism is really dependent on preserving the habitats for many species of birds and other critters.